a lot of people who have had bad therapy. And when I say bad therapy, I mean therapy that was not helpful, that was unprofessional, that probably did the opposite of what it should have done, where people were completely turned off by therapy. Things that are really, really unfortunate and sad, especially when someone is in a vulnerable state and wants to find someone to really help them deal with some of the difficult things that they're going through. What is up, fam? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Phil Sarpon. This is Phil's Guide to Psych D. This channel is dedicated to all things psychology, wellness, and graduate school. Today, we are talking about bad therapy. Now, let me just start out with saying this. I know a lot of people who have had bad therapy. And when I say bad therapy, I mean therapy that was not helpful, that was unprofessional, that probably did the opposite of what it should have done, where people were completely turned off by therapy. Things that are really, really unfortunate and sad, especially when someone is in a vulnerable state and wants to find someone to really help them deal with some of the difficult things that they're going through. And so I think it's very important as clinicians or even future clinicians to understand the state of what bad therapy could do. And because mental health is already a stigma in society, it's really important to talk about bad therapy, to call it out when we see it, and also to educate people too in understanding that just because you get bad therapy with one therapist does not mean that all therapists are doing bad therapy. In fact, people who go through therapy sessions for about 26 sessions, 75% of those people will have really good positive effects. Now, I'm going to give you a few examples of what bad therapy looks like, and also in general what to look out for. And again, my heart goes out to those who have experienced bad therapy, but I think it's also very important to talk about in these different types of situations and settings. One potential example of bad therapy could be a lack of progress. Progress can mean that the client is not getting the help that they need. Maybe they are experiencing anxiety or depression and they don't feel like they're getting the adequate coping skills or listening attentive skills from the therapist that they really need to process what's going on. Maybe the therapist talks way more than they should, and they should actually listen a lot more. Maybe the therapist is actually offering really bad advice that isn't pertinent to what the client is going through. Maybe the client just doesn't feel heard or listened to. There could be a lot of different reasons why progress is not going in the right direction. Now, I do want to say this, is that typically, especially for a lot of complex mental health disorders, typically clients are not going to see a linear form of progress as some people might assume or think. Take the example for PTSD. A lot of clients actually might get a little worse before getting better because PTSD, things like cognitive processing therapy or cognitive behavioral therapy, can be so intense in terms of trying to help that client process their trauma that there could be a few back steps that the patient can take before actually moving forward. So when I say lack of progress, I'm not saying it in a sense of the client, goes one way and then gets better. I'm saying it in a sense of you have been in therapy for weeks or months, maybe years, and it just actually has gotten worse. And you don't feel connected to the therapist. You don't feel like they're listening to you. You don't feel heard. And you feel like what they're giving you in terms of advice or suggestions is actually making things worse. Another example of bad therapy, and this is a lot more subtle of an approach. Typically, therapists, psychologists, clinicians are taught that it is important for us to be flexible as clinicians. And so if one approach isn't working, what we're taught in graduate school is to change the approach. Don't be so rigid in CBT that all you do is CBT. maybe you have to add some elements of solution-focused therapy or problem-solving therapy or acceptance and commitment therapy, or maybe you just have to focus on what the client wants to focus on. The whole concept of therapy is that the therapist needs to be flexible. Not everyone is the same, and not everyone's going to come with the same presentations of a mental health clinical diagnosis. And so it's actually really important for the therapist to continue to educate themselves, to get help when they need it, in order to perhaps change an approach that before was just not working. And so, in fact, a lot of evidence shows that when therapists are able to be flexible in their approaches, they do tend to be successful. And so, if your therapist has just been going at this one approach over and over and over and over again, and it's not working, and maybe you have told them that it's not working and they continue to do so, that is another example of bad therapy that you may have to look into finding another therapist. Another thing, and this is a broader level of bad therapy, but I kind of mentioned some snippets of this earlier on, but maybe you should feel like you can share what you need to share with this person. And if you feel judged, or you feel like there's a lack of empathy or compassion or genuineness or lack of authenticity, or you just don't feel connected to that person, maybe they're not a bad therapist. Maybe it's just you just don't feel connected to them. It would be in your best interest to seek another therapist. What the research shows is that when a client feels connected to their therapist, they feel like they like their therapist, either as a person or some quality about them, the therapy tends to do really well. And what it shows is that it's not even about the intervention, CBT, ACT, psychodynamic. It's really more so about the therapeutic relationship and rapport that the therapist has built with the client. And so if that rapport is not there, then of course that client is not going to feel safe and secure to open up about some of the most vulnerable things in their life that they're going through. And so if you don't feel like that therapeutic relationship or alliance is there, I think as a client, you have every right and autonomy to fire your therapist and go look for another one. If you have any questions about this, if you disagree with me, which is totally okay, I would love to know why. I'd also love to know what other types of bad therapy you have seen, perhaps as a practicum student, or perhaps maybe what you have received yourself, and tell it to the community. Let's make known about what is bad therapy, what's good therapy, but also what is bad therapy as well. If you have any questions, please put it down in the comment section below. But with that, I will see you all in the next video.